you, Nia, for having your time with us today. So I'm really excited to have you around right now and talk a bit more about yourself and also the things that's been going on lately, because you've been in the spotlight a lot, haven't you?
I have.
Okay. I love the enthusiasm, but I think before we actually start into like the hard news stuff, the hard questions, we'll start with something light. I mean, to those who haven't heard of who you are yet and what you've done, could you please tell the viewers or at least the readers, describe yourself? Like, who is Nia Miranda for those who don't know you yet?
Who is Nia Miranda? Nia Miranda is an artist, an artivist, and we'll get into detail on what exactly that is a little later. I stand for purpose. So my name is Nia. It's the 5th day of Swahili, of Kwanzaa. In Swahili, it means purpose. And that's who I am. I'm a purpose-driven person. I live in my purpose daily, and I encourage others to do the same. I'm full of love, laughter. We're going to have some laughs if you're dealing with me, and just a good time. And I'm about togetherness. And more than anything, my brand stands for bringing love back. That's the name of my company, one of my companies. And that's what I dedicate myself to doing daily, is bringing love back.
Okay. I mean, we'll just like go back in time, because I also read from some stuff that you actually came from a Nigerian roots, is it?
I did. Thank you for researching. Yes, I'm Igbo, Nigerian. My father was born in Nigeria, and he came to America, met my mom in college, and then they created me. I was born in Gainesville, Georgia, but I grew up in Detroit, Michigan. So majority of my life, I lived in Detroit, Michigan. But yes, I do have Igbo roots. And it's actually been my mission during this quarantine time to just kind of dig a little deeper and learn the language a little more. So I'm still learning a little bit, but I hope to, after we get out of this artistic residency, I'll call it. Once we get out of this, I hope to know the language a little more.
I mean, you were born in Georgia, is it? Did you say? You mentioned
Yeah.
Georgia, and then you moved to Detroit, but then now you're based in LA, right?
Yes, I'm based in North Hollywood, California, and I've been here for, it's almost 2 years.
2 years. Oh, I also read something that you were a pre-med at Michigan State, but then you left for the art.
Yes.
Tell me more about that. What happened?
Well, what's interesting is, like I said, my father is Nigerian, and if anyone knows anything about Nigerian families, they are extremely huge on education and, making the family proud and the family's name. And so growing up, it was like you could either be a doctor, a lawyer, which my father is a lawyer, or, like an engineer. But other than that, nothing else existed. And for me, I'm like, well, guys, I'm an artist, right? And so it took a little time, but I was at Michigan State for 2 years, and I realized I just wasn't happy in the pre-med track. Like, I'm intelligent enough to do it, but I would have classes in my dormitory at maybe 8 a.m. in the morning, and I would wake up and I would just go to class in my pajamas. Like, sometimes I wouldn't go to class. I would ask people to take notes for me. But then when I started getting booked for like TV shows and films, call time could be 6 a.m. in the morning and I'm there at 5. Like, I showed myself what I really was interested in. And when I realized that, it was like, okay, it's time to step out on faith and go for what it is I'm passionate about. And for a while, my family was like, okay, what are you doing, Nia? Here we go again. It's always some adventure with me. So it's like, here we go again. But now I can say they see the vision and they are so proud of me. And that makes me really, really happy that I was able to follow my dreams, go out on my purpose, and my family to be happy about that and proud. It makes me feel good.
So this happened a few years back, was it?
Yeah, so what's interesting is after I left Michigan State, which happened a few years back, actually a while ago, after I left Michigan State, I went to Detroit, and I actually was living in Harrison Township, and I was working at Sprint full time just to save up some money so I could move to, I was trying to go to Atlanta at that time. And while working, on my way to work one day, I got into a car accident. And this kind of actually starts my real journey with marijuana as well. I was out for the count for a while. My now husband, but then boyfriend, he would be taking me to like physical therapy and everything. And although it was probably one of the most challenging times in my life, I knew that if I didn't get up and make a move now towards my dreams, then I would be complacent. And even though this was like the most difficult time to be trying to move after just getting into an accident, I just bet on myself. And at that time, me and my boyfriend at the time, we moved to Dallas, Texas. And that's where I started, me and him started Bringing Love Back, which was a podcast in the beginning. And it just grew and grew and grew to what it is now. So yeah, one thing you'll learn about me is I'm not afraid to take risks. And throughout my story and throughout my journey, there are a lot of times where I'm taking a risk that most people would think, you know, well, why would you do that at this time? And for me, it's like, what greater time than when your back is against the wall to go for something, right? To just spark that energy back in you. And yeah, I've done that a couple times.
Well, I can tell. Now you're here.
Now I'm here.
Mm-hmm.
And this story, let me tell you, this story about how I got to California is even crazier because I was working in Detroit. I had moved back to Detroit. I was working and I had just got a promotion at my job. I was a lead sales associate, a leasing agent for a high-rise downtown Detroit. I just got a promotion. They told me I was gonna make all this money. I was in a film that I ended up not working with anymore. And it was like, you know what? This is my last year of like my 20s. I probably should go for it for real. You know, like I've been wanting to get to California my whole life. Why not do it now? And so I talked my husband into flying into California for one day so I could audit a class. And as soon as I walked in, I fell in love. And he looked at me and he's like, here we go again. And I'm like, yeah, another adventure. And funny enough, from that one day, I went back to Detroit. I gave my 2 weeks notice. They thought I was crazy because they were telling me about all the money I was about to make. And within like a little over 30 days, I was in California by myself. And I told you I was married. I'm married. I was in California by myself studying. And that was supposed to be a 4-month thing. And now it's going on 2 years. So, you know, that leap of faith really helped. It really, really did. And I kind of prepared myself for it. I was like reading a book, Steve Harvey's book, I think it's called Jump. I was reading that like on the airplane to like manifest this thing, to prepare myself. And when I landed, I was like, you know, God, can you just give me a sign? I just need to know. You know, we always ask for signs. Give me something. And I looked up and it was a sign that said California, but how they had it broken up, I had read it a different way than I had ever read it before. And when you break up California, it's actually Cali for Nia. Like, what bigger sign did I need, right? Like this, it was here all along. I just had to pay attention.
Well, there's your sign.
There's my
California now. Oh God.
California.
That's a really interesting story. But yeah, I mean, you also call yourself an artivist. So I'm assuming it's combining art and activism. What else would it be?
What else would it be? And that's exactly what it is.
Okay, but tell me a bit more of your projects right now. I mean, you have upcoming things going on, projects with Rock Nations.
I do.
Go ahead.
I do. That, you know what? That would probably be the most perfect example of artivism. Because although I'm an artist, and what I usually do is I create films around maybe some taboo topics or topics that I believe need awareness, and I present them to audiences to start a conversation and also change what we really have going on in life, not just to use it as entertainment. And so that's how Artivism started for me. But specifically with the new song that'll be coming out on Rock Nation's album, one day, well, after the George Floyd's death, right? The murder of George Floyd, seeing that video, it sparked something through all of us, I would say. You know, we had just been in quarantine, hadn't been around people, emotions were high, and then to see someone die so heinously was a trigger for me, and I knew I had to do something. I had not been anywhere since quarantine had started. I hadn't been around anyone, but I knew that I had to do something. And at that present moment, my something was going to be to protest. I was going to go to a protest, and I was here by myself, so I had to call my husband and tell him, like, hey, babe, you know, I'm going to a protest tomorrow. And he, of course, was like, I'm not there with you. I don't trust it. I need to be there to protect you. I called my mother, told her the same thing, my father and my friends. And I told you earlier that I'm about purpose, right? Yeah. And I told them that I've been able to live this artistry for a while now, but there is a part of my purpose that I have not been able to really give into and tap into, and that's my activism. Like, my whole agenda here is to push my ancestors' agenda forward, and I really live by that, by any means necessary. And I'm not so privileged where I can't go out and make a stand and speak up. And so this was going to be the time for me to do it. And I was very intentional about what I did that day. Like, every piece of article that I was wearing, I laid it out, my goggles, my sanitizer, because it was still COVID, you know, everything, my mask. And I took a shower, and I remember just, you know, kind of talking to my ancestors, like, listen, guys, this is the first time I'm doing this on this level, but it's so strong in my heart. Protect me, guide me, lead me, make sure that I'm good, you know, and that the will is done. And to have that whole experience, to go to this protest, which was one of the most beautiful things I'd ever experienced, some of the most, like, influential people and people from all walks of life just being together, unified. It was beautiful to have that experience, and then for it to change into what that viral video was, right? Which was helicopters everywhere, me confused about why the police would be here, and running into women who were spray painting Black Lives Matter on a Starbucks, and they weren't Black. And the problem is, it's not that it was someone who wasn't Black that was helping the cause, but it's the fact that if I had not taken that video, myself and my friends, then the news would have reported that as someone Black vandalizing. And that would have been an additional target on our back. And that's not the truth, right? And it was so many people.
Was it?
Pardon?
It was reported by Fox News, right? One of the major one that reported it was Fox News.
Yeah, one of the major was Fox News and TMZ. TMZ got their coverage in too. And I was happy about that. I had a really good time with Harvey and everybody. But it's like, okay, so I have to now take the responsibility in my hand and cover this. It wasn't, I already had my camera out, just kind of looking at everything that was going on. And when I approached those women, I knew that I had to stand up and say something, because it was people who were around and they weren't saying anything. And just thinking back to that, once again, George Floyd's video, to think about the other cops who were around that didn't say anything when, you know, that man had his knee on George's neck. It's up to us to speak up. And so it was like, well, you got to do it, Nia. You can't just walk past and not see this. And you felt so strongly about other people not speaking up. So I did. And the most interesting part is that speaking up thing has become its own movement. And that's what started the song that Ty Dolla and Aunt Clemens created off of my video. Because in my video, I said, when you see stuff like this, you're supposed to stand up and say something. And that's what I believe. And that's what I was doing. And that inspired Skrillex, the producer. And, you know, that day I put the video out, I went to sleep. And I woke up the next morning and I experienced what going viral was. It was the craziest experience ever. I called my husband and I'm like, babe, I'm not sure, but I kind of think I might be going viral. I think viral is happening to me. He was like, Nia, get out of here. I'm like, no, I'm serious. I think I'm viral right now. And within like 20 minutes, he was sending me pictures of all these celebrities who posted my video on their page. My sisters were sending me things. And then all of a sudden I get this DM saying, hey, Nia, we want to share this song with you. Your video inspired Skrillex, Ty Dolla and Ant Clemens to do this song. We hope you love it. I'm like, what? Ty Dolla $ign? Like, I have Ty's album on my phone. Like, Ant is the man. Skrillex is one of the coldest producers out. Like, what do you mean? Is this a joke? Am I getting like punked or something? And I listened to the song. And when I heard the lyrics of that specific song, it broke me down. It broke me down because it was so beautiful. And it was what I stand for, artivism. Using your voice, using your art, using your platform to push change, to bring awareness on topics that we know need to have the awareness. And that's what they did with that song. And like, I felt complete. Like that conversation I was having with my husband about, I need to tap into my purpose. Like, me taking that stand and going out there to protest, I had no clue that it would come back to my art in this way. And now I have a song with amazing people, and it's going to be produced, by Rock Nation. Is coming out an album. Like, that's just...
And it's going to be out on 9th October. Is it October 9th?
Yes. Okay. It's going to be out on October 9th. It's a compilation album with multiple artists. So you're going to be in for a surprise. And all of the proceeds are going to, businesses and companies and organizations that are about changing, this social injustice and police brutality. A couple of my favorite is Until Freedom, that is ran by Tamika Mallory, as well as Grassroots Law Project, that's ran by Lee Merritt, as well as Sean King. So some of the greats that are currently working right now in changing what's going on, they'll be able to benefit. Those organizations will be able to benefit based off of this song. And, I can continue to do my artivism, to know that I'm a part of this type of history. Just, it makes me happy. It's so many things you can go viral for right now. Like, it could be a TikTok, I can be doing a little dance, but the fact that I went viral for something like this, it just speaks to the character of who I truly am.
I agree. I do agree. This is it's definitely like a very overwhelming moment right now for you, I'm pretty sure. Can you just give me that timeline and what exactly happened before the video was even out? Like, what actually happened? And because I saw one of the article from Fox News, you said it is never okay to commit a crime in our honor, and I totally agree with that. Tell me more. What exactly happened?
Well, basically, I'm at the protest, right? And everything was beautiful. The police comes, and now for some reason, there's a part of this story or the day where the police decides to start shooting tear gas and rubber bullets, right? And it's interesting because all throughout the protest, while we were walking into Beverly Hills, I would see tagging on stores, and then I saw stickers post under the tagging saying, a Black Lives Matter supporter did not do this. And so I'm like, well, that's odd. Well, who would be out here tagging? And I saw it a couple of times. And so after the situation with the police and I ran, to make sure that I was safe, I kind of already had that energy in me of like, this doesn't make sense. What are they attacking us for when we're out here being peaceful? Like, it doesn't add up to me. And so to have that energy flowing over, and then to turn, and next thing you know, I see someone who's non-Black spray painting Black Lives Matter. Like, no, that's not what it is that we're doing. And I want to be clear. I understand that, I believe in this. People can get their properties back. You can never get bodies back. When people are slain in the street, they can never come back. So I'm not saying that some people may not be upset and they choose to express their upsetness, in different ways. But what I am saying is, spraying Black Lives Matter on a building and you're not Black, it hinders us more than it helps us. It puts an additional target on our back, a back that's full of targets already. And it gives the news an opportunity to create a narrative that the people who are out here standing for injustice, you know, standing against injustice and standing for, you know, equality and police reform and just standing against police brutality, seeing something like that, it fogs up what the message is. And it's not okay to do that. I mean, ultimately, if we can be transparent here, some of our less melanated friends, they have many more opportunities of helping us in this cause and certain privileges that we have yet to have, that they can help in those ways. Spray painting a building, that's not helping us, especially saying Black Lives Matter when the news is going to make it seem like, oh, the protesters are rioters, and that's not the case, you know? And so it was important for me to say something to these women. And what's interesting is I've gotten mixed reviews about the video from social media, because, you know, everybody on social media has an opinion that they feel like they should share with you. And people are like, well, why didn't you take their mask off? Or why didn't you do this? And why do you do that? And I'm like, well, guys, let's still remember, this was my first time being out of my house since COVID. This was my first time being around a lot of people. So that was something to take in. And I had to remember, I got to be safe. I need to keep my mask on. I need to make sure their mask is on. I need to have that distance, still get my point across, but still be safe and keep, you know, my distance or whatever. And it was interesting to me that they had rebuttal. That's what was interesting to me. Like, are you arguing with me about this right now? Like, how are we doing this? And that whole day was just interesting. And what's even more, you know, ironic is that right after I had that interaction with those ladies, like maybe a few minutes, maybe 20 minutes later, a police car ended up catching on fire by people who were dressed exactly like them. And so that started to make me think that, oh, these people weren't here to protest at all. This is some infiltrating type of stuff. They have their own agenda going on. So I'm happy I was able to stop them there.
Oh, okay. Wow, I think that was, oh man.
That was a lot, right?
Yeah, that was a lot. It's so hard to take in, but I mean, Black Lives Matter itself, I mean, it's a movement to stop police brutality, obviously, and also the injustice between Black Americans and the society as a whole in the United States. But I mean, and it all started with George Floyd. Back then, or maybe even until now, what was your reaction when you heard about his death, George Floyd?
It's so interesting because I can feel those initial feelings. That I woke up one morning and I went to Instagram and I saw this video and I'm like, what is going on right here? You know, like I didn't know what I was about to see. That's first. I didn't know what I was about to see, but I seen like some chatter. So I'm looking at the video and I remember wanting to help. I remember like screaming at my phone, like, someone do something, someone help him. And a couple of parts in that video that I'll never forget. It is difficult to hear a baby crying and a baby screaming for their mom. It's like, oh, this baby wants their mom. But when you hear a grown man asking for his mother that was deceased, it does something to you. Well, it did something to me. And hearing that, and then hearing him say, they're going to kill me, I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. I'm like, we're already going through a pandemic. We're quarantined, for God's sakes. We are quarantined. How is it that you're still in the streets killing us and we're quarantined? Like, how is this happening? If the world was ever supposed to be together, it should have been during a time where we're all going through the same thing, which is, trying to keep ourselves healthy and safe. And we're losing people left and right to this, this pandemic that's come out of nowhere, and you're still killing us in the streets. Chills. I was sick.
Mm-hmm.
I remember crying. I remember trying to continue to like go to work and have Zoom interviews and go to class, and just being so distraught because for some people, they possibly didn't see the video, or some people it didn't affect them in the same way, and their lives kept going. And mine was like, I can't keep going as if nothing had just happened. I can't. And so I remember having a very open discussion at school, Richard Lawson Studios, that's where I study at. And Richard opened up the class, because our school's very diverse. He opened up the class for us all to just talk. And I had so much emotion bubbling inside of me that I was just happy that someone asked me how I was, because for that entire day of seeing that video, no one asked me how I was. And so I just was moving on. But when you heard those questions, how are you? It's like, do we continue to play like everything's okay? Put on that mask of, oh, everything's fine. Or do we live in our truth? And I made the decision to live in my truth from that day forward, really, wholeheartedly, not to hide how I was feeling anymore, or not making myself uncomfortable to make other people comfortable.
I mean, I can tell that you're really affected by it. I mean, you're tearing up right now.
Yeah, that was hard.
Mm-hmm. Out of curiosity as well, I mean, as a Black American yourself, how have you been experiencing racism itself throughout the year? How did you handle it as well?
You know what? I believe that 2020 has given us, I came into 2020 thinking that this was going to be the year of perfect vision. Everything's going to be great. I can't wait. And I won't say everything's been great, but I will say perfect vision was true, because we are all being able to see things in ways that I think we never saw them before, collectively, like as a country, not just the Black community seeing things or just this community. Collectively, things are in our face that we have to deal with. And I always knew racism existed. I am a people's person. I love, like I told you, I'm about bringing love back. I'm about unity and togetherness. And so I usually don't have problems with people of any race. I don't have problems with people. I'm like, we're all human and we all belong to planet Earth. So, I'm usually really good with people. But since that president has been in office, it has ignited a hate that I only read about growing up. A hate that I'd only seen in films when they spoke about some of the things that happened to, my ancestors. Like, it's a certain hate. And I can be honest and say there is a love out there too. There is a unity and a love that's happening, but it is coming against a certain level of hate that I never lived through. Believe it or not, just was it last week or the week before last, my husband and I, we went to San Diego, La Jolla, and we were like, let's just go put our feet in the sand. It's not many people out here. We can social distance and just sit by the water. And we did, and it was beautiful. And going back to our car, we're laughing, having a good time, drying off. And a white man comes up to our car and he says, "Hey, what are you doing here?" I'm like, "Excuse me?" And he walks around the front of our car towards the driver's side where my husband is. He's like, "What are you doing here? You don't belong here. Do you want to see how a white boy gets down?" And like literally attempted to start a fight. And I'm like, what the heck? So I'm reaching for my pepper spray because I'm like, I'm going to spray him. And then I'm thinking like, well, wait, if I go across my husband and spray him, the pepper spray will get in my husband's face too. And it's not going to be helpful. So the guy, he just didn't care. He was still being aggressive. And it was not until I reached down and picked up my phone and pulled my phone up, his eyes got huge and he ran. And I'm like, wow. yeah, like in 2020, I'm going through things like this, that someone feel they have the audacity to ask me, what am I doing at a beach that they don't own? And then on the flip side, to see just how much power the phone has. That camera is a powerful thing. And being an artist and a filmmaker, I understand the power of film. And now other people are understanding just how powerful it is.
How did you
racism is
How did your husband react? How did you feel?
My husband used humor, charm, and irony. He told the man, like, hey man, back up. You know, it's COVID out here. You know, like, you too close. Where's your mask at? You know, playing it off a little bit. I was furious. My husband was trying to tone it down because, you know, he's a Black man in America. He understands that getting into altercations right now, it's only gonna go a couple of ways. And one of those ways is a huge possibility that even if he's in the right, he would end up dead or in jail. And it's unfortunate, but that's just the reality that we have to deal with, right? Where me, I'm like, let's follow him. He should have not said this. I can't believe I'm going through this, right? And he was able to calm me down and say, hey, babe, but guess what? We're safe, we're alive, we get a chance to go on with our day, not allow this person to affect us. And it took me a while to calm down, but I was furious. I was mad because, you know, sometimes in the Black community, people think that it's a certain type of Black person that gets targeted. Mm-hmm. It's a certain type, right? And the truth of the matter is there's no type. You can be a millionaire. You can be an NBA player making millions of dollars on the court, but once you get off that court and you take your jersey off and you're driving in your car, nobody knows who you are. You're just a Black person. And so it showed me that it's not any exceptions. There are no exceptions to hate. If someone has that hate in their heart, you know, sometimes they'll move on it. Now, what I will also say is my husband realized by looking in the man's eyes that he was a little off. Either he was drinking or maybe he had some mental problems, but he could recognize that and he chose to de-escalate the situation. It's interesting to me how some of our police officers are called out for people who are having mental episodes and they don't know how to de-escalate a situation, and people end up as victims of police brutality or murder. And so I do know that there is an opportunity there, even if you're scared. Like, I could have been afraid for my life that someone was, you know, approaching me in that manner, but it didn't end up with that person dying, or it didn't even end up with that person being injured. So it makes me think about some of the other options our law enforcement can use.
I agree. I mean, this kind of thing still exists until now. I'm pretty sure not just within the Black community, but I guess every minorities in the States as well. I mean, as much as this have affected you, you still want to do the good side of things. You still want to do it, and you want to do good, but you want to do it through the entertainment industry, which obviously is clearly shown.
Yeah.
You love the entertainment industry, and you have your own production company, just like you mentioned. It's called Bringing Love Back, is it?
Yep.
Yeah.
Bringing Love Back.
Could you please describe in your own words about the production company itself and maybe the current projects as well, if you don't mind hinting a bit?
I can hint a little bit.
Go ahead. Yeah, and also what it stands for.
Okay, yeah, absolutely. So Bringing Love Back, like I said, it started as a podcast when me and my husband were living in Dallas as boyfriend and girlfriend, and it kind of grew. All of our viewers from our podcast, they kind of like followed us through our relationship. They were able to be there when we got married virtually, and like we had a community. And what I realized is that the secret ingredient in every successful anything is love. Successful relationship, a successful meal. Like, you know, when you eat something good, you're like, oh, I can tell they put the love in this, right? And so it's like love is that ingredient that I believe if we could just infuse that into a little bit of everything, then we have a higher probability of success. So Bringing Love Back is about infusing that love in my community and then being able to spread that to other communities by doing unique events as well as unique films that push the boundaries sometimes. I have one particular series that I'm really excited about where it kind of focuses on it shines a light on the Me Too movement, but it focuses on women empowerment and a woman being able to, take care of her family, take care of home, her husband, her children, cook a meal, be beautiful, and also kick a little ass if she has to. Like she can get with you, intellectual, technology, savvy, and martial arts, boxing, like using all of the layers that us women have, seduction as well, because that's something that we have, but using all of that to get what it is that we want, which was, in this case for this series, is justice. You'll see a couple of stories that we're all kind of familiar with. It won't be those people specifically, but we're familiar with some of the stories that are the Harvey Weinstein story, the R. Kelly story. Like, it's certain stories that are out that shows these powerful men doing what the heck they want to women, and women not always seeing the justice. Well, with my series, which is called The Player Slayer, the Player Slayer, she comes and saves the day.
All right, I can't wait. Can you at least give us like the date on when it's gonna be out?
I can't give the date yet because I have some final little litigation things that I'm working on, but I will say the beginning of the series will be out before the year is out.
All right, that sounds really exciting. But yeah, I mean, most importantly, I mean, you have like this production company, you produce lots of films and series, but what do you wish to celebrate in the films, like through the films at least?
Love and togetherness and unity, and then just being able to tackle some of those difficult conversations. I just produced an event last week because Bringing Love Back, we do films and events. I just produced an event called Black is Queen, where women of all age groups, all walks of life, we came together on a Zoom and we had discussions about things that were really important to us, and just talking about how together we can build, how we can go into investment properties together, how we can create, healthier lifestyles, not just for us, but for our families. I'm about the betterment of life. So that comes to mind, body, soul, spirit, all of that, and I will continue to do events that focuses on that. I have a book group right now where we're reading a book called The Sacred Woman, Healing and the Healing, Spiritual and Body of Women, and it's written by Queen Afua. And so we're reading that book and learning about holistic approaches to creating a healthier lifestyle for us. And that's what Bringing Love Back is, like, put love into health, put love into yourself, self-love, community love, then we can spread out and have love with everyone else. So I really hope that with my films and my events, it can bring awareness and make people more proactive about their life, because the truth is, we only get one. So what are you going to do with that one life that you live? I choose to live my life loud. I choose to live it within purpose, so that when I do leave this place, I can leave empty, knowing that I used all the gifts and skills and all the goodness that I was given. I used it to the best of my ability. And so that's the mission of Bringing Love Back, is getting people to tap into their purpose and using their purpose to create change in the world, literally be the change you want to see.
Amazing. I love it. But yeah, what changes do you wish to see with your work, and what changes have you seen with your work?
I choose to see, what I've seen so far is, I see that, one, there's power in film. Two, there are more people who are wanting to do good than I thought originally, just by looking at the news. If you look at the news, you would be confused about what's really going on in the world. And that seems very ironic because this is the news. But there are so many women and men who are looking for leadership, or they're looking to feel a part of a community. And Bringing Love Back is a community of people who want positive, things to happen in the world and also in their own lives, in their own homes. So I've seen people change their whole lives since being a part of Bringing Love Back. I've seen people getting some of the best health of their life. One of my best friends, she's actually, I feel like I'm a love matchmaker as well. And it's a guy who I helped her, get a couple years ago. And now they're living this beautiful life. They're about to have a baby. They'll be married soon. And so it's like just being able to see how contagious and infectious this love that I spread can be. Like, I want love to spread as fast as COVID-19 did, and that thing spread fast. I want it to be able to just feel people and consume them, and to understand that there is always a silver lining if you look. And I think I've already started that. I see it, I feel it, and I hope that I can leave that back as a legacy, so that when my children are growing up in this world, they don't have to experience what I experienced 2 weeks ago at the beach. They can go to the beach and just enjoy themselves and just be. And then also, I want to say, when you think about the things that we know, right? Like, we learn a lot from film. Some of our hairstyles comes from a film person that we've seen, an actress on TV. We love that style, or what we wear, or what we think about life. A lot of that comes from the TV shows we look at, the films we look at. It is a teaching, a teaching object. And I think that when someone is entertained, it kind of lowers the barrier. If you're going into like a professor's, auditorium or something, it's like, oh, I gotta learn. But if it's in an entertaining way, it's like, okay, well, this is cool, and I got a message out of it. Oh, now I feel okay to talk about this because it came by way of entertainment. And so I'm just packaging up all the love, all the awareness, and putting it in a nice little entertainment bubble, so people will feel less abrasive to receiving it and more open.
I love the message. I really do. I love what it stands for. I love what it celebrates. I love its mission, obviously. But things aside, we have the entertainment things covered. I mean, Emerald is a cannabis magazine, so let's not leave the cannabis things out of the way. But back then, something terrible happened to you, just like you mentioned earlier in the interview. You were in a car accident. What happened to you, and what led you into the medical cannabis things?
Well, like I said, I was in a car accident going to work, and it was a terrible car accident. I was driving in Michigan. It's snow all the time. So a snowplow drove into my driver's side and pushed me into a fire hydrant. The fire hydrant exploded. It's water everywhere, and it's crazy. It's so interesting because at this time I also experienced a little bit of racism. I got out of my car. I made it across the street. I just begged the person not to leave, and they didn't. The neighbors who had saw the accident called the police. The fire trucks came, and I'm like, I'm so happy the police are here. Like, finally, I feel protected. So what I thought, I asked the police officer, I said, could you please just go to my car and get my phone out so I can call my mother and let her know what's going on? And all white men kind of looked at me like I was crazy. I'm like, okay, maybe they didn't hear me. Could you please just get my phone so I can let my mom know I'm okay? And he looked at me and said, I'm not getting anything for you. I said, oh, okay. And then I instantly, stomach turning. I had fear. Luckily, the same neighbor who called the police the first time, they came out, gave me their phone, let me call my family members. But I realized that was my first interaction, understanding that just because they're the police doesn't mean that they're there to protect and serve everyone, especially people who look like me. So that aside, got into this accident. I had to go through so much physical therapy and chiropractor services. I had all the pain pills you could think of. I got injected with steroid injections that completely tore my body up. I mean, I had red and purple stretch marks all over my arms and over my stomach. I grew hair on my face. It was just terrible, and I was still in pain. And so The doctor told me the only thing I could do was go to a spine surgeon and see how they could help. So me and my husband, now he was my boyfriend then, we went to a surgeon in Dallas, and they saw my records, and they saw that where my herniation tear was from in my disc, it was on the same level as my heart. And he said the only way for him to get there to fix it would be to crack my chest open and to lower my lung, or to remove one of my ribs in order to get to that place. He said the only other option is they can put this device inside of me that would send leads to my back and kind of like would kind of massage my back internally. And so I was like, okay, no, I don't want that to be done. Like, I can't. My boyfriend was going crazy, like, crack her chest open. She's only 20. Like, no, I just got her. No, you can't mess her up. And the doctor pulled him to the side and was like, listen, man, honestly, she's in pain and she's going to be in pain. The only thing I could suggest is medical marijuana. He's like, you should try it. And so my boyfriend at the time, he was like, well, babe, you should try marijuana. And I was like, no. I grew up in church my whole life. I'm like, no, I cannot try weed. Like, that's like, what? I'm going to go to hell. Like, I had every single, misconception that was placed around this medicine. I had it. I believed in it, and I was going to just be in pain. I don't care. I'm not going to do it. And so he kind of had a moment with me and was like, listen, Nia, I'm caregiving for you. You aren't doing anything. I need you to help me get you better. You're gonna have to try this. And I'm like, okay. And I was so scared. And so we had to drive. This is how crazy it was. Right now, you can understand that marijuana is probably everywhere, but I didn't know how to get it. I didn't know where it was. So we ended up driving like an hour away somewhere to get something. And I remember using it for the first time. And now I understood that what I was using then was not the best grade at all. But because I'd never experienced it, I was like, well, did I say this? Did I say that? Hold on, what's this? And I'm laughing, and I cleaned up my whole house. I cooked a meal, and then I was even twerking again. And I'm like, wait a minute. I was able to do all of this, and I didn't feel my back. I didn't have any pain. And that was so big for me because I had not been able to clean my whole place, make a meal without being in excruciating pain where I have to sit down and I can't move and I'm out of the count. I was able to do things and I couldn't believe it. And so I'm like, well, maybe this kind of works. Well, let's try it again. Continue to try it. And I had blown up over 200 and something pounds because of the steroid injections. After using my medicine, I was able to start walking and water aerobics and yoga, and I started to lose weight, and I started to feel like myself again, and I got my life back. And my husband was like, well, if it can do this for you, it can probably do this for other people. It's probably other people who don't know there are holistic, natural remedies that can help with their pain, and we need to look into it. And so that's what we did. We started to do research, read all the books and all the articles, and we really started to figure out why this plant was so special. Mm-hmm. It changed my life. It gave me my life back. And I can say that confidently, that being able to use marijuana responsibly for its medicinal purposes changed my life, gave me my life back.
And you still use it until now for your medication?
Yeah, I still use it. As a matter of fact, it's one of my main sources of medication. I don't take pain pills or anything like that because I had so many side effects from that. Not only that, but now I can, I'm able to, we're growers as well. So I can grow my own medicine. So I know exactly what's going in it. I don't have to worry about something coming from somewhere else that I don't know. I make butter. I make coconut oil. I make, the distill to put it in my teas and everything. Like, I'm able to live my life normally with using my medicine. The only thing for me though is, and I always bring this up, is that it's still such a stigma around it. And it kind of frustrates me because like if someone has a headache and they use Tylenol or Advil, no one has anything to say to them, right? But say if I decide to use my medicine in herb form where I'm smoking it or whatever, it's like I have this whole routine I have to do. I have to put eye drops in my eyes so my eyes aren't red, spray perfume on me so no one can smell it, put like a mint in so no one can smell it on my breath. And I feel that no one else has to do all of that for their medicine. And the only reason, like, granted, I don't have to do that, but I feel the need to do that based off the stigma that's around this specific medicine, which is really unfair. If I can share a story with you, I had a mentor, love her to death, Nia Rivera, and she was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer. As a matter of fact, stage 4 colon cancer. And during her last 2 weeks of life, I was there for her while she was on hospice, and the nurse would come and give her morphine and she would be out of it, you know? And so when I first came to help her, she didn't even know that I was there. She hadn't eaten any food for a week and she didn't know that I was there because she was so out of it. So I went to University of Michigan and I got some Rick Simpson's oil from a dispensary there. And I was like, I heard about this. I heard it could do magic. Let's try it. So I got just a little bit of it and I put it on an orange peel for her. And I put the orange peel in her mouth and had her just like, you know, pull on the juices. Within 45 minutes, she jumped up and she said, Nia, you're here? And I said, yes, Dina, I am. How are you? She's like, girl, I'm good, but I got an appetite. I want some pancakes or something. Like, can somebody make me some pancakes? I said, listen, for you, I will make whatever you want. And when I say that last 2 weeks of her life, I saw how this medicine brought her back. She was up, she was dancing, she was laughing, she was looking at music. I mean, looking at our favorite movies, listening to music. It was such a livelihood that she had. And it made me feel so happy. I'm like, I wish I could have gotten this to her sooner. But then at the same time, when her hospice nurses would come, she would be so frantic. And she put the oil up, spray the room, make sure it doesn't smell like that. I don't want them to know that I'm using it. I don't want it anywhere around me. And I'm like, Dina, do you realize that with morphine, you had just been bedridden for the last week or so? You're taking this and now you're up and about, but I just don't want them to think I'm an old lady who smokes. I said, and this was a hard conversation to have with her. I'm like, Dina, you're on hospice. Do you understand what that means? That means that's the end of the road. That means that it's over. And so you are still worried about the stigma of marijuana when you know that it is helping you. Like, that's when I knew that I had to really stand for and be an advocate for this medicine, because it makes no sense that someone would feel so embarrassed to use something that has proven to help them. So me doing this right now is definitely my story, but it's also me experiencing this story with her and seeing how she was so scared to use a medicine that was actually helping, and she was much more open to using something that didn't help her.
Well, okay, and you also, I read that you and your husband started your own medical marijuana business.
Yes.
Tell me more.
That is called Sophisticated Smoke. And because I believe it's a class about this thing, you know, like, I think that because of the terrible news that's been around it for so long, that it should be known that this is a classy medicine. It has a certain sophistication to it, especially when it comes to like having higher grades, you know, and getting the notes of the flavors and everything. So Sophisticated Smoke started with us kind of getting some older people who didn't have the funds in Michigan to go out and purchase, you know, their medicine or whatever. So we grew our own plants and we kind of took them on as patients. And I would make like cookies for them and like, you know, oatmeal and all that good stuff and drop it off. And this was an in-kind thing. Like, don't pay me anything. This is just for you. And we seen how our product, how much it helped people. And so we decided to like, let's stretch this a little more and just see how far we can go with this. I mean, the marijuana industry is $1 billion industry. And it's unfortunate that so many people that look like me are on the other side of the industry. And when I say the other side, I'm talking about behind bars for a medicine that so many people are getting money off of, or like living beautiful lives off of. So a part of Sophisticated Smoke is not just helping patients, but also making sure that we can be a voice when it comes to marijuana reform and freeing some of these people who should not be behind bars for using or distributing a medicine that has been known to help people.
Mm-hmm. I mean, clearly you've accomplished a lot. a lot.
And I got so much more to do. It's so much more to go.
I mean, you're hungry for more. I love it. I love the enthusiasm. But you did accomplish a lot. But what change do you wish to see, particularly in the Black community in the States or maybe around the world?
The biggest change that I want to see in the Black community is for us to know who we are. Mm-hmm. I think that other cultures have a very vast understanding of who they are, where they come from, their lineage, their history, because so many of my brothers and sisters are products of the enslaved movement when we were brought over here and we were enslaved. Mm-hmm. A lot of us don't connect with what happened before slavery. And if you go into schools these days and you look at history books, they don't talk about Black people before slavery. They only talk about us starting from slavery and moving forward. So it gives us the understanding, or it makes you think that our history started in slavery, and that's not the truth. My goal in my community is to be able to, one, be the bridge between Africans in America and Africans, to bridge that gap so we can understand that we're the same and that we can rely on each other and use each other's resources to, build ourselves up. And then also to just produce financial freedom for my community. I think that we deserve to know who we are and then use that knowledge of who we are to create the lives that we want, which is a financial free life, but also a real life of freedom. I honestly believe that most Black people in America have never experienced freedom ever. And what I mean by that is they don't feel comfortable or confident to have something as simple as having their music loud in a neighborhood that may be predominantly white. When you step into a certain neighborhood, you're gonna turn that radio down really quickly because you know that that's putting a target on you. Oh, this person's radio is loud. They're gonna call the police. I want us to be able to walk this world feeling as free as we should be.
I love them. I love it. But do you have any last messages that you want to share to the public?
Any last message? First, I just like to say thank you, Emerald Magazine, for having me and to, choosing me to be featured in this magazine that is doing so much in this industry. I did see one of your recent posts about the 100+ Black businesses in the medical marijuana industry. And I was like, that's what I'm talking about. I was very happy to see that. I am working on a documentary that is going to be speaking about this specifically, about what me and you've spoken about today in terms of Black people's understanding of horticulture and sharecropping from way before and how it has kind of grown into what it is now in this specific industry. And when I finish the film and I have a release date, Emerald Magazine will be the first place that I come and talk about it. And it'll be great. I just want people to be open to understanding the differences of other people and to be open to seeing if there are other ways of natural holistic healings than what we've been taught, because there's what a saying says, there's more than one way to skin a cat. There's more than one way to produce healthiness and a healthy lifestyle. And I think that marijuana and researching about it is something that everyone should do, because you never know, it may help you like it helped me, or it may help someone else that you love like it helped my friend before she passed.
Well, thank you so much for your time with Emerald. I hope to see you in the near future.
You will. Thank you so much for having me. This was beautiful. I'm happy that I started my day like this.